Marvel's Super Hero Squad on the PS2, PSP, and Wii is a licensed cash grab developed by Blue Tongue Entertainment, who you probably know best for Da Blob in the Nicktoons Unite series, and the PSP and Wii versions were handled by Mass Media, who you probably know best for, well, none of their games are exactly something I'd want on my resume, is all. As for the game itself, I'd seen it played before, and I was ready to call it an everyday phoned-in 3D beat-em-up and leave it there. Maybe I wouldn't even need to make a game analysis video because this would be so generic, but I had a bit of an odd experience with this one because of how the control system works. Let's go over the basics first though, which don't sound odd at all, to be fair. You have a basic 3-hit combo at your disposal, you have an alternate attack, which is generally some form of projectile or leaping attack. And at the end of your 3-hit combo, you can press triangle to do a finisher. And you use said moves on wave after wave of nearly identical enemies with indistinguishable attack patterns that barely hurt you, amidst a bunch of respawning health containers to ensure that even when you turn off easy mode, there is no difficulty present. And I do mean when you turn off easy mode, because for some reason easy mode is turned on by default and you have to manually turn it off, which is great, by the way. The few attempts at variety are shallow and amount to pressing switches, throwing things at switches, or platforming. Incredibly basic single-button platforming. The hazards are predictable and incredibly easy to circumvent. You shouldn't expect anything past your basic crumbling platforms and bottomless pits here. There's also nothing that could be called a puzzle even by the most generous definition, so the game falls back entirely on its combat for all of its substance. And considering how bland I already told you the moveset and enemy variety was, it seems like we could just wrap this one up early, right? That's it, we could just call it a day, put this one in the bag. But I did tell you I had a bit of an odd experience with this game, and now that we've moved past the basic game design, I can talk to you about why I thought it was a little awkward. Generally, in any 3D action game without a hard lock-on system, I attempt to steer my attacks by moving the control stick and then pressing the attack button in the direction I want to attack. I'm not insane, right? This is a really basic thing to do. My basic instincts are now hardwired to think that whenever I want to attack in a certain direction, I need to move the joystick in that direction before pressing attack. But Super Hero Squad doesn't quite work that way. Super Hero Squad uses a directional attack system, which means that what attack you perform is dependent on which direction you're pressing the joystick at the time. It took me ages to figure this out and confused me to no end, because the game does not make this clear. To be fair, I can think of a few other beat-em-ups that use this system, but the inputs required are generally more precise, so there's no risk of accidentally activating an alternate attack, and I activated an alternate attack accidentally plenty of times in Super Hero Squad because, being a kid's game, I assumed they wanted the inputs to be more generous. In an effort to, I assume, make this directional attack system easier, your character is soft locked onto enemies nearby them at all times. Any enemy or object in their immediate vicinity, they are automatically locked onto, and you cannot disable this soft lock. So I would press to the left and press the attack button to attack a character to my left, but instead my character would perform a special move, sometimes in a different direction entirely. In order to use my basic 3-hit combo, I had to let go of the joystick entirely. So if you want to play this game the way it is best played, as a mindless button masher, then after you're facing the appropriate wave of enemies, you want to let go of the joystick entirely and then start mashing square, because holding the joystick while mashing square will result in agony. Of course, when I did figure out the game was using a directional attack system, I did attempt to use those directional attacks, but they all proved to be far more useless than simply my basic 3-hit combo followed by a finisher, which always did more damage. So while I assumed the directional attack system was meant to add some depth to the game, it doesn't, and it also makes it harder to button mash, which is what most people playing this game would probably want to do anyway. When all is said and done, after you learn to leave the analog stick alone while attacking and just smash square, the game becomes mind-numbing. Which frankly is what I expected from the game to begin with, so all is right with the world again. It's soul-crushing cash grab tedium, and it's not okay, good, or even acceptable. It's arguably worse than most of the Nicktoons Unite games, definitely worse than Da Blob, but hey, it's better than Lightspeed Rescue on the 64.